Usually, a lawsuit requires some form of actual physical interaction between the plaintiff and the defendant. But what if the person you're suing is inside your television? Imagine sitting on your couch, eating dinner, and watching a popular evening soap opera. The lead actress turns to the camera. Her eyes go wide, and she delivers an intense, dramatic monologue. You feel a sudden chill. You feel violated. You feel spiritual damage. In 2015, one man in Shanghai experienced exactly this, and instead of just grabbing the remote control and changing the channel, he hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against one of the most famous celebrities in Asia, demanding financial compensation because her eyes were simply too big. Welcome to Exhibit Absurd. To understand the sheer audacity of this lawsuit, you have to understand who the target was. The defendant in this case was Zhao Wei, also known internationally as Vicky Zhao. In 2015, she wasn't just an actress. She was a cultural titan. She was one of the highest paid entertainers in China, a billionaire businesswoman, a pop singer, and a director. She was the face of massive luxury brands and had a fan base of hundreds of millions of people. Suing Zhao Wei in China was the equivalent of suing Taylor Swift or Beyoncé in the United States. But a celebrity's greatest asset can sometimes become a massive legal liability. And for Zhao Wei, her trademark feature was her incredibly expressive, exceptionally large eyes. For over a decade, those eyes had conveyed romance, tragedy, and comedy, endearing her to an entire nation. But in May of 2015, those same eyes became the central focus of a bizarre legal dispute in the Pudong New District Court of Shanghai. The catalyst for this legal disaster was a prime-time television show called Tiger Mom. Zhao Wei played the titular role, a fiercely strict, highly driven mother who ruthlessly pushes her daughter to succeed in a hyper-competitive educational system. To play the role perfectly, Zhao Wei leaned heavily into a specific acting technique. Whenever her character was angry, disappointed, or scolding her on-screen husband, she would widen her massive eyes in a terrifying, intimidating glare. It was fantastic acting. It made the character memorable, imposing, and slightly unhinged. Millions of viewers tuned in every night, enjoying the high-stakes family drama. But somewhere in Shanghai, one specific viewer was not enjoying it. He wasn't just annoyed by the character. He was feeling a deep, profound sense of psychological torment. Every time the actress widened her eyes on his living room TV, he felt like she was staring directly at him, judging his soul and piercing his emotional defenses. The man, who remained publicly anonymous but was widely reported on by the state-run media, decided that this visual assault could not go unpunished. He marched down to the local courthouse and filed a formal civil complaint. But he didn't just casually complain that he didn't like the show. He treated Zhao Wei's acting like a physical assault. He claimed that her intense, wide-eyed stares through his television screen had caused him severe spiritual damage, leading to extreme emotional distress, anxiety, and a total inability to sleep at night. He argued that her acting was so aggressively invasive that it disturbed his peace of mind, disrupted his daily life, and forced him to seek psychological peace. His demands were equally absurd. He didn't just want financial compensation for the psychological toll of being looked at too intensely by a broadcast signal. He also demanded that the court issue a formal injunction to force the billionaire actress to publicly apologize to him and to legally compel her to stop staring at him through the television screen. Now, in any normal legal system, a clerk would take one look at this paperwork, laugh out loud, and immediately throw it into the nearest shredder. You cannot sue an actor for doing their job on a television show you voluntarily turned on. But the plaintiff had perfectly timed his ridiculous grievance with a massive, catastrophic shift in Chinese legal policy. To understand how this made it to a judge, we have to look at what happened on May 1st, 2015, just weeks before this lawsuit was filed. Historically, the Chinese legal system operated under a case review system. Court clerks and judges acted as heavily armed gatekeepers. If they didn't like your case, or if they thought it was too complicated, they would simply refuse to file it. This led to massive public anger as citizens with legitimate grievances against powerful corporations or corrupt officials were routinely turned away at the door. To fix this, the Supreme People's Court of China implemented a sweeping reform. They switched to a case registration system. Under the new law, local courts were officially stripped of their gatekeeping power. They were legally forced to accept and register every single civil lawsuit that was filed, as long as the paperwork was formatted correctly. The government thought this would protect the little guy and ensure justice for all. Instead, it unleashed the floodgates of human pettiness. Because court clerks were no longer legally allowed to reject paperwork at the front desk, the system was instantly paralyzed by a tidal wave of weaponized stupidity. In the first month alone, lawsuit filings nationwide spiked by a staggering 29%. People started suing their neighbors because their roosters crowed too loudly. People sued restaurants because the food didn't look exactly like the menu pictures. The legal system was completely short-circuiting. And of course, our unnamed hero in Shanghai used this exact brand new loophole to legally bind one of the most famous women in Asia into a court case over her facial expressions. The moment the lawsuit was officially registered by the Shanghai Pudong New District Court, it became a global media sensation. News outlets from London to New York ran the story. On Chinese social media, the public reaction was a mixture of absolute hilarity and genuine concern. Legal scholars began panicking on national television. If a judge actually allowed this case to proceed, it would set a terrifying legal precedent. Think about the consequences. If an actor could be successfully sued for staring too intensely, the entire entertainment industry would collapse. Horror movie directors would be hit with class action lawsuits for scaring people. Soap opera villains would be bankrupted for being too mean. Actors would be forced to perform with their eyes closed or wear dark sunglasses just to avoid litigation. The sheer absurdity of the precedent forced the legal system into a highly embarrassing corner. Fortunately, while the new 2015 regulation forced the court to accept the filing, it didn't force a judge to entertain the madness. The Shanghai court eventually reviewed the docket and swiftly dismissed the case, citing that it lacked basic legal merit and factual standing. They politely but firmly suggested that if the man did not like how Zhao Wei was looking at him, he possessed the constitutional right to turn off his television. The lawsuit was thrown out. Zhao Wei's bank accounts remained untouched, and the Chinese legal system breathed a massive sigh of relief. But the case remains a legendary masterclass in the unintended consequences of broad legal reform. When you open the doors of justice to absolutely everyone, you have to be prepared for the absolute weirdos to walk through. The man who sued a TV star for staring at him proved a universal truth. No matter what country you're in, and no matter what the laws are, someone, somewhere, will always find a way to weaponize the legal system for the most aggressively petty reasons imaginable. If you want to uncover more bizarre evidence from the most chaotic, unbelievable archives of legal history, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, and we'll see you next time on Exhibit Absurd.